Welcome to the TNF podcast. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Do me a favor, do all of the above, please. And if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Music, give us a follow, give us a rating. That would be awesome. All right, we've got some upcoming shows for you. On the 30th of March at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Russ Cogdell from Zayo. On the 2nd of April at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, that's a Wednesday, Gregory James Thomas from End, Misery Signals, and The Risk Taken. On the 6th of April at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Peter Edge from Inclination and Two Witnesses. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen, we've got an official merchandising company, Hell's Heart CO. .bigcartel.com. Use the code 20 for 20% off your entire order. Fine Bella Canvas tri-blend t-shirts, movie themed, hardcore themed. They feel amazing. Pick one up. I would love it if you did. That would be most excellent. All right. So my guest today, I didn't even realize how extensive her discography was because I actually just found out she had a page on Discogs, and she's done some of the biggest names in hardcore. She's provided photography for Hatebreed, Reach the Sky, Disembodied, Shutdown, Comeback Kid. The list goes on and on. Some of my absolute favorite bands in the world. And she's also part of Sisterhood, which I've had several of the ladies on this show before. Really excellent group of gals. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Danielle Dombrowski. Thank you for being here, Danielle.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And, typically with people that are focused in music, I always have to ask, what was your first exposure to music? Like, who got you into it? Like, was your family big into music? Did you have musicians playing in your family? Did you play in a school band? And how did that seg into hardcore? Like, what was your first show, too, as far as like non-hardcore shows?
Well, let's see here. I grew up and I still am a huge fan of classic rock. So I grew up listening to that. My parents were, big time hippies, huge Led Zeppelin fans. I guess technically my first concert would have been when my parents were pregnant with me in 1977 on the Zeppelin tour. So I was in the womb at that concert at the Garden. I think it was the first time they played there. And maybe that has something to do with why they're still to this day my favorite band. So absolute huge fan of Led Zeppelin. But my dad just nonstop music all the time. Not a musician at all, but listened and loved like all the big names in classic rock, from Zeppelin to the Doors, the Stones, Neil Young. I could go on and on and on. But so that's how I really got into music. And then when I was, into middle school ages and early high school, grunge sort of became a thing. I was always into that, and metal. Just drawn to the heaviness. And actually, to be honest, I really love all music, even, a lot of pop and whatnot. But my first hardcore show was Biohazard at a place in Middletown, New York, where I grew up. And it was just, I kind of like accidentally, I had never heard of them. And to be honest, never really heard of much hardcore at that point. But I had some friends through vocational school from another, a neighboring town. And they asked me, because I was taking photography at that time, to come and shoot their band. And I was like, sure, okay. I had no idea what I was doing, really, to be honest. But I did get a handful of decent shots of them at that show. And for some reason, I didn't shoot Biohazard, which was kind of crazy. But as life went on, I made that mistake several other times and missed out on some big opportunities, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But now I make it a point to shoot every band that plays, just because you just never know who's going to be the next big thing. But so that was my first hardcore show. And I think that my first, mainstream arena show that I can really think of is Aerosmith at Montage Mountain out in like near Scranton, Pennsylvania. And that was just, that blew my mind. I mean, for Steven Tyler to play at his age for, 2.5 hours nonstop with that amount of energy, just so mind blowing. And shortly after that, I went to see Jethro Tull, and that was in Jersey. I can't remember the name of the place, but Ian Anderson is just absolutely amazing. But, I love, as far as music goes, I really love all instruments. I love when they're integrated into hardcore as well. When you have some kind of a weird piano mix or intro, or, like he does with the flute. Some bands have violin, just anything that's a little different like that just really draws me in.
Yeah, that I remember back in some of the albums, like particularly in the 90s, where there would be that track where bands would have musical interludes with like an orchestra or piano, like you said. And there's a band now that's actually using a flute in their songs, but like they do it live. I'm not sure exactly who that is.
Speed.
Okay. I've actually never heard them, but I keep hearing about it.
Oh yeah, it's really cool. They're really awesome live. Just if you ever have the chance, they're a great band to see live, and super nice guys as well. Yeah.
Have you photographed them?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really I haven't met them, just like in passing. But I've photographed them 3 or 4 times now. And just crowd goes wild for them. Just absolutely great crowd shots. They're full of energy. They jump around. Just great band to see live. But I do have some photos of him with the flute, and it's really awesome.
I got to see that then. Yeah, I've heard good things about the band with the flute. I didn't know what their name was, nor had I heard them. But there's actually a really excellent band from Charleston, South Carolina, called Circle Back, and the singer, John Marino, who's actually been on the show, he's a good friend of mine. He actually started playing the tambourine as a joke, like a hand tambourine. And now he integrates it into every show. And I kind of laughed at first, but I guess people are really into it, And so, yeah, it's kind of awesome when bands kind of think outside the box and do things a little bit differently. There was this band years ago called Buried Inside, and they would bring out a gong. Like they had a huge gong, and I'm trying to remember, I think it was For the Love Of, I think, had the anvil where they would crash an anvil on the stage. Yeah. It's cool. Hardcore, I think, kind of gives you that ability to kind of not be like a black and white thinker. I think some bands would probably say, oh, that's not hardcore, but when one band starts to do it, then other bands will be like, what can we do that will be different? What can we do that will set us apart?
Yeah, I actually have some pretty good photos of that anvil.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can send them to you after. Yeah.
I'm going to have to see them for sure. What kind of motivated you to take a career in photography?
It's kind of not really a career, to be honest. It's like a side hobby, I would say. Although I do have a legitimate wedding photography business that I do on the side. I shoot like 3 to 4 weddings a year, which I have an Instagram for. Or not an Instagram, I do, but I have a website for that, daniellesweddinggallery.com. And it's actually the first website I've done on my own. I'm very proud of it. So if anybody wants to check it out. But what I grew up with actually a family of hairdressers. So I was always kind of pushed in that direction. And I really didn't want to do it. I really wanted to do photography. I just had to take an extra class in high school because I was going to have too many study halls. So I had to take an elective. So I chose photography. And, you know, a lot of my friends were taking the class and whatever. I just figured it would be fun. And I just really, it really drew me in. I loved it. Got my first camera for my graduation gift, a Minolta X700, which actually got stolen at a Hatebreed show. Yeah, my friend's car got robbed. I did replace it with the same camera, but in my heart, it's not the original. But I still have it. Yeah. So
wow,
that was my camera, like for the first maybe 4 or 5 years that I was shooting shows. But yeah, so I was back and forth between the two because when I started that, I was actually in cosmetology for my junior and senior year through vocational school. And when I graduated at that point, now I'm, you know, I had shot that biohazard show and then just started going. I met some, you know, those friends that I shot, and I met other friends and other bands through them and started going to more, they were more of a punk band. It was a 99 Cents local band from Goshen that had opened for them. Yeah. And so through them, I met other local punk people and some, you know, they're so closely integrated with hardcore bands that I just kind of like just was exposed to it through that. And I started shooting pretty much every show I went to. And I started going to all these shows like locally with my friends and fell upon, I ended up at an Earth Crisis, Snapcase, Hatebreed, Despair, and several other local bands show out in Connecticut. And I sent my pictures, and at that point I was in college for photography too. So my plan was to work at a salon and put myself through college for photography, but it kind of worked out the opposite way. I went to college for a year for photography and just kind of was like, I don't really need to go to college for this. I'm already technically doing it, you know. And I was working full time at the salon and making good money for my age. And I just started doing that as my full-time job. And then photography is my hobby / you know, little side gig. So I ended up collecting while I was going to college for photography. Like I would do my project. I was running the darkroom there as like technically working for the college. I went to Sullivan County up, you know, in Sullivan County, New York, which was about a 45-minute ride from where I lived. But I had to open the darkroom every day. That was like my job. So it helped pay for half of my tuition, I believe. And then I would be at the school from like till 1 o'clock, from like 7 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock. Then I would get to the salon by 2 and be there till 10 o'clock at night every night. So I was like a really busy, like 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, you know, running. And then I was shooting 3 or 4 shows a week. And I would open up the darkroom and just print out all my band photos. So I have tons of old prints. Actually, I have a box of them sitting right on the floor because I've been reorganizing them. But yeah, it was really a good time. So I ended up making a big package of all Victory photos, Victory band, and I mailed it to Victory Records. And like maybe 4 months later, I came home from school and I had this message on my voicemail from Maria over at Victory. She had like just found my envelope and loved my photos. And long story short, they started like sending me to shows to shoot for them. And so I ended up doing the same thing with EVR and Revelation. And I heard sometime last year that Revelation has like a little sort of museum thing set up in their warehouse. And I guess my postcard that I sent them originally, which was like a photo I made with, I think, the sparrows in it, and it had like all my info on it, like kind of like trying to promote myself. And I heard that it was there, like on display, which is pretty cool. I was like totally flabbergasted by that. But yeah, so then I shot some shows for them, but I did a lot more for Victory and EVR. And then some for Josh from Trustkill, and some for, Boston bands for Bridge 9 and Death Wish and stuff like that. So I was just kind of like whoever I can shoot and be friends with, and work my way into, getting to shoot, trying to shoot bigger bands. Like EVR got me into shoot Warped Tour a few times in the 90s, and that was super awesome. Although I stood on stage with Eminem when My Name Is first came out and didn't take one picture of him.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But
because I was sitting there.
I bet nobody knew at the time he was gonna
his single
skyrocket into the stratosphere.
Yeah, his single had just come out, and nobody knew who he was yet. And then like a year later, I was like, shit, that sucks.
Wow. Yeah, it's one of those in hindsight things you wish you could have done it differently, but you sound like you've had a really like amazing and illustrious career, and I think that that's great because you probably photographed all of my favorite bands in existence, and I love when bands used to do, I think they still do it. I don't see it as often anymore, but when they would do the shirts of like the live shot, and then it would say like, Snapcase progression through unlearning, and then it would have a picture of the band playing, and like, I love that about
they don't
that.
Do that a lot now. On occasion.
No.
On occasion, but not very often.
Yeah. I really miss that whole aesthetic. Hopefully, this newer generation of hardcore bands is going to start to bring it around again. I wanted to rewind a little bit, and you say you do wedding photography, and my sister's actually a photographer, and she said that she did that for a while, and that it was very like stress inducing, and she ended up going and taking a career doing like pet photography on the side, versus having to do that all the time. Do you find that to be challenging ever?
I kind of have like a weird integration with because now I fast forward to what year are we in now? 2025. I have now owned a salon for 21 years. I just had my 21-year anniversary, so
congrats.
Thank you. I specialize in wedding and prom hair, as well as hair color. And at one point, I was an educator for a color company called Schwarzkopf for several years. And the local distributor had a classroom, and I used to teach like wedding and prom hair as well. I kind of made up, and I did some hair shows and whatnot. So I have a lot of my clients that used me for their hair, I ended up shooting their weddings. So it's kind of funny. I just had, a lot of them are people I know, is what I'm getting at. But so it's a lot less stressful when you've known the person for years. But sure, I have been in some stressful situations. And there have been a few times where I've done weddings where I don't really know the people well, like, and I'm not doing the hair, which is very unusual because usually I'm like with them the whole day because I'll go there and do the hair and then the photography with them all day. It's a very long day for me. And I got to really
Wow.
pack a lot in my car. But the weddings where I don't do the hair, which it's only been very few, usually are people I don't know, but they're, you know, either like a relative of somebody I know. I might know some of the guests or whatever, but I really haven't had anything too stressful. Maybe like some situations where, you know, somebody didn't show up on time or something's running late and then I'm rushed with the photos, and that kind of sucks because then the bride usually gets all stressed out. I had one friend of mine for a destination wedding, and she was like freaking out that the flowers were like slightly different than the picture she gave, and she was like hysterical over it. I hope she's not going to listen to this. Probably not, but I had to like sit her down and be like, you know what, you are ruining your wedding day because this is petty nonsense right now. Like the flowers are beautiful regardless. And there's going to be like, you have perfect weather. Everybody that matters to you is here. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you look beautiful, you know, everything is going to be fine. Stop freaking out.
Sure. Yeah.
I've had
That's kind of what
situations like that.
that's kind of what my sister said, was that, you know, she is not a type A personality, and she had to deal with a lot of type A personalities, you know, and like very, like you said, petty things that, you know, should not be that significant, but were blown way out of proportion, you know, because it's like they want this like idyllic presentation of the special day, you know, and my sister just got so burnt out with it that she said, I'm not dealing with this anymore. And, you know, just kind of redirected her career, which I think, you know, for somebody like her, she's very smart. She's very good at what she does. And I think it was a good move on her part. So, yeah, but I mean, it's great that you're able to, you know, kind of essentially cross promote with people that you do hair with, and then, you know, are able to, you know, hey, by the way, I do photography. I can do this. So, you know, that's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I just recently had a client asking me for like my wedding hair portfolio the other day, and I'm like, I I don't really have that. I have my salon Instagram that just kind of has like everything. But
Right.
if you want to see something with just wedding hair, go look at my wedding photography page, and 95% of the brides on there, I did not just their hair, but usually the wedding party and the parents and siblings and whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
But
When do you sleep?
it's hard now with social media and all these. I mean, not that I want to put myself in as older, but these younger kids that have nothing but time to sit and just they do these crazy before and after videos. Like I'm
Yep.
booked like 10 to 12 hours a day at the salon. If you saw my appointment book, like nonstop. I sometimes don't have time to eat or like use the restroom even. I'm not going to be like, I do have a backdrop there, like with a double
Hmm.
sided black and white, and sitting down in my hallway, that if I want to take it out and take some cool shots of something. But as a general rule, I'm not going to be doing all these crazy videos. Like there's people out there that they just have, that's all they do. They do like one client a day and
Right.
make like this crazy before, during, and after video. And it's just to promote themselves. But that's not like real life to me. That's not because it's not your
You're right.
everyday
You're right.
clients that come in. Like if you walk around like the grocery store and the mall and, you know, even at concerts and see, those are your people that you're making money off of, the people that want to come back every like 4 to 8 weeks to get their
Hmm.
trims and their roots touched up and their highlights redone and all that. Like when I do something really crazy, like, you know, rainbow hair or the new calico hair that's out, like I'll make a point to leave like an extra 15 minutes in my book to take some pictures of it. But I'm not getting out like a stool, and I'm not going to pose them and do their makeup and all that shit. Like that's just And so this lady's asking me for like my version of that kind of thing that all these young people are doing on TikTok and everything. Like, I don't have that. Like, but I can tell you this, I have like 30 more years experience than them. And I can work faster than them. It's not going to take me all day to do that. Like, you want your wedding party done? I can have you all done in 3 hours with just myself, you know, and it'll look better
Wow.
and stay all day. And if I did the photos, I'm there with you all day to tweak stuff. That's always my sell. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
oh, you
Yeah.
know,
No.
the last wedding I did, you know, I was with them in between. You know, we did the photos. They had a first look. We did them all before, and we had just come from the salon. Then they got dressed, photos of that and all. And after we did the first look photos and we did all the post photos, there was like an hour's time before the actual ceremony. So I was in the bridal room tweaking all their hair, you know, recurling their little tendrils. And, you know, of course, the kids in the wedding needed, you know, to be presentable again because they're running around and they get little flyaways and stuff. So here I am to do all that in between. So it's, you know, it's a good sell to do both. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's always my thing. Like, I don't need to waste all my time doing that. Like, and I don't have the time to do it, especially because on the
Sure.
weekends I'm out shooting shows. Like, you know, I might be at the salon doing a wedding party, all their hair and everything in the morning. And then I'm, you know, driving to Long Island to shoot a show like 4 hours after that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's hectic and busy.
Sure. Well, you know, if you ever need somebody to edit some videos for you, I happen to know a guy. So, you know,
Awesome, because I really don't know much at all about making any video clips, which I would love to just make video clips of stills, you know, just like a
oh yeah,
slideshows with music and stuff and make it look cool. But I haven't really crossed
sure.
that bridge too much. I did play around a little bit with, you know, reels on Instagram and downloaded a couple apps, but it's not like some of the stuff that I see. And maybe it's because they have a combination of video clips and stills, which they're
Yeah.
probably shooting videos and doing still grabs from them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that could be too. Yeah. It would
yeah.
be probably helpful to do video as well, but you could also do some really awesome stuff with stills too. But now back to what we were saying about hardcore, you know, like when you're out there photographing bands, are there any bands in particular that you really had some awesome experiences shooting?
Um, you know, as far as like the current, like more current bands, I really like shooting bands that draw a crazy crowd response, like Mind Force, for example. Speed, like we were just talking about, is great. Um, Pain of Truth is awesome. This American Nightmare show is just amazing. And of course, well, recently the Have Heart show that I shot like several months back was amazing. Just, and of course, the craziest crowd reaction, probably, I'm going to say Bane.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. Just no matter what show, where they're playing, even if it's like not sold out, it's still crazy. And Terror too.
Yeah.
Any
Oh,
vocal
Terror,
band
God.
is just, yeah.
They always have the
Yeah.
best crowds.
Yeah.
Yeah, high energy. I love it. I love it. And you know, as far as like photographers that you are inspired by, like maybe you know, well-known ones, do you have any in particular that you either try to emulate or that you draw inspiration from?
Um, I think when it, you know, when I was first getting into hardcore, I used to always look at the photos on every CD. And back then, like all the bands had live photos on their CDs. And I used to constantly see BJ's name, BJ Papa. And I just absolutely, now she's a good friend of mine. And she's just a wonderful human being. Such, she has such a good heart. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to meet BJ, but she took some really iconic photos from back in the day, and seeing her name everywhere. And I was like, wow, that's so awesome. Like, I want that to be me. You know, I want to be able to shoot all these cool live photos and have them be just as good. And it's just such an honor when a band chooses to use your photo. That means they like it enough to put it on their permanent CD. You know what I mean? Like, which, I mean, are there really even CDs now? I don't even know. Because everything is on,
vinyl,
like,
you know, I mean, like,
yeah.
if you have a really cool vinyl, you know, a live shot would just really kind of amp that up as far as, like, you know, the look of it, I would think. Yeah.
And then back then they used to do, you know, posters to go along with them. And I had a lot of photos on posters as well. That was cool. And like you said before, the shirts and stuff. So I was just like, oh, that's so cool. I want that to be me. And then, you know, I used to see like Dave Mandel too. He used to shoot a lot, but well, he still shoots too, like me. But I used to see his name. Also another great photographer. And from like kind of more New York local bands, John McCaig used to shoot then. And I always loved his style with the shutter drag. And so I sort of learned that, and it sort of became my style. And I still do it when I can. Can't always do it because for some reason hardcore bands are playing bigger venues now, and there's, you know, a 3-song limit, no flash for a lot of them. Like last weekend was at the Brooklyn Paramount, where I shot Orange 9mm and Quicksand and Refused, which is such an awesome show. But no flash there, so you can't do that. You know what I mean? It's just a whole different type. And I really had a hard time with, you know, non-flash photography, which I'm starting to get better at now. But like, I'm kind of known as the flash girl, but it just became that way. So I'm trying to branch out and like just try new things now the last few years. But yeah, I guess you can see I haven't posted the Refused pictures, but I did post the Orange 9 and the Quicksand photos the other day. And I think they came out for no flash pretty decent. I didn't have a chance to edit them on my laptop yet, but I did transfer them, and I have Lightroom on my phone to get them out there quick. There's so many band photographers now, and so many are really good as well. So there's like just a lot of, I don't want to use the term competition, but it's kind of like, if you don't get your photos out within like a couple days, then it's just like forgotten about and doesn't matter anymore. Nobody's going to want to look at them. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So
you got to be on the ball.
Yeah. It's kind of tough to keep up when you work, I'm going to say when you're an adult in a way, you know, because I have a business I'm running, and I work like 50 hours, if not more, a week there. And then I have a house with 5 pets and a husband and, you know, all that stuff. And my dad passed away last year, so I have to take care of my mom as well. In between all that, she has a lot of health issues. So there's a lot going on in life. So sometimes it makes it very difficult to get it out there fast.
Yeah. It's that whole plight of, you know, being an adult is, you know, and I can relate in that I'm also juggling multiple projects at one time, and it harkens back to a time when you're young where you do have like less responsibilities and you could kind of focus on, you know, one thing. And don't get me wrong, I like doing multiple things. It's just I almost wish I had more time in the day to do all these things, you know, so I could put
Right?
my
A day should really
what I
be
would feel like my
40
full effort.
hours. There should be an extra 3 hours of daytime to do stuff and an extra 3 hours to sleep. It should
Yes,
make a
I agree.
30-hour day.
I agree. I think we should petition the
Slow the
government to
rotation of the earth down just a smidge.
right. Right. Let's get the scientists in on this action. Let's make it happen. Have you ever caught anything like crazy on camera? You know, because like hardcore shows have been notorious for, you know, fights and violence and things like that.
Yes,
Has that
I
ever
have.
you have? Okay.
Yes, I've accidentally gotten some very bloodied up people. I have gotten some really cool like stage dive shots, like action people jumping
Action
off
shots, yeah.
balconies and crazy stuff like that. Yeah, people passed out on the floor, people with their heads split open, you know, random stuff. I can't do.
Typical fare for hardcore.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
The action shots
But
are probably pretty interesting because you know, a lot of energy, a lot of you know, movement. I'm sure that makes for some really cool shots sometimes, especially when like the band is going off. You know, another example of like an action shot where there's just so much going on and you know, all that like kinetic energy that's like, you know, focused within that frame, you know.
yeah, I've gotten a couple times a really cool shot. There's one part in when Pain of Truth plays where they all jump at the same time, except for the drummer,
Oh,
obviously.
wow.
And I've caught that several different times from different angles with them all in the air. It's pretty
You
cool.
probably come to expect it though, because that's so like a signature move of theirs, and then you're like,
Well,
just
now
wait
I
for
do.
it.
Now I wait for it. But in the beginning, I caught it by accident.
Oh,
And yeah, the first time I got it, I was like, look. And Mike was like, holy shit, like we've been waiting for somebody to get that on camera. Yeah.
it was you. That's glorious. That's
Yep.
fantastic. As far as like non-hardcore bands, have you gotten the opportunity to do, you know, because I said you said you're a big Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith fan. Have you ever done any of those like arena rock bands or anybody that's outside of the parameters of hardcore?
Yes, actually I shot let me see. Oh God.
I wanted to mention, by the way, some of the sisterhood crew is here. Storm and Kelly are here representing, blowing you up
Oh,
in the
hey
comments here.
guys. Yeah, my first one was I'm having a little brain fog right now. Oh God, I could picture his face, but I can't remember his name. But a
Sing one of
classic
the
rock
songs.
line. Yeah, it's just out of my head right now.
Mm.
But he played at the Chance in Poughkeepsie, and I somehow finagled my way into getting my camera in. I don't even remember who I was shooting it for, to be honest, but probably the first or the next notable one is Joe Satriani. And that
Oh,
was
wow.
awesome. Yeah, that was in Connecticut at the Ridgefield Playhouse. And apparently they don't really have photographers there ever because they kind of like didn't know what to do with me. They were just like, I don't know where you go or what you do really, but let me go figure this out. So they came back and they were like, you can shoot for 3 songs, and then they let me sit in the front row. So I stood for 3 songs and walked around, and then I used my camera from the front row to shoot for the rest of the set. And I probably ended up with like 600 photos after that. It was a little crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was no
Incredible.
flash. And but yeah, like that was super cool. Really, really cool.
I got to
Although he didn't
see
take off his sunglasses the whole time. That was annoying. But
I got to see Saves the Day in Japan, and I remember I snuck in one of those little Canon, like I want to say it was like probably a disposable camera. I know I had a good camera, but I think in order to get it in the show, it was one of those like Chizo disposable ones or whatever. And I got all these pictures of Chris, and started. I had a flash like an idiot, and like I started taking pictures, and anybody else would have probably taken the camera, kicked me out. But because it was Japan and they actually don't cheer or say anything while, the singer is saying something, they're so polite there. They just made a gesture and said no. But I still got some awesome shots of Saves the Day. So it was glorious.
it's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Last
Are
year,
there anybody? Go
wait, let
ahead.
me tell you about my biggest one though. Last year,
Okay.
I've been trying for years to shoot at Bethel Woods, which is, the original site to Woodstock. I don't know if, you've been there, but really nice concert venue, open air out, covered, but just such a beautiful place to go to. Rolling green hills, like everybody's like volunteers there. They're all friendly. Just a great place, great sound. Every time I go there, it seems to be pretty good weather too, which is awesome. But I got to shoot Megadeth there last year.
Oh, wow.
I tried to get in. And I finally got approved. And that was amazing.
Wow.
Nobody used my photos for it though, but
no.
I have on my Instagram. Yeah.
What
I mean, as far as the band didn't use them or the venue. I was really hoping that the venue would, but they have a house photographer, so obviously he probably runs the Instagram too. So his photos were up like hours later. But I was like,
oh, what a drag. Have you ever had any bands repost your photos that like kind of blew your mind?
Probably along the way. I mean, I was super excited about, I guess like maybe the first time when Chaka from Burn did, I was like, well, because I always loved Burn, and now he's a friend of mine. And I think they posted
Would love to have him on the
show.
show.
Oh, you should. You should.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. I got to see Burn a few times and they're fantastic live.
Yeah. I absolutely love them. But I would, God, I can't get through the years. I mean, maybe like several years back, I feel like before you kind of get to know the band, then it's like really exciting. But after you know them, it's just like you take them for them and you send them to post, or they'll write you and ask you for them. Yeah. But sure. Yeah, I remember being like super excited when Chaka posted the first Burn picture, not the first one I took, but the first one that he reposted of my photos of them. And then I sent him older photos I shot from the 90s, and he posted those as well. And that was super cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Savannah, my sister, I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know if you're watching. Well, my sister, I don't know if she ever watches the show, but I wonder if you remember the time when Stretch Armstrong reposted some of your photos, because that just came to my mind. I remember that, and that was a big deal for you. But yeah, so you were doing it, and it was like routine, and then you get asked to do it a lot.
Yeah, but I was going to say that I also sent, because I shot the Warped Tour years back. Orange 9 played one of the Warped Tour shows, and I had like, I don't even know, like 2 or 3 photos of them in my little box there that's on the floor right now that I was sorting through. And I sent those, and they got reposted as well. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Pretty awesome. And have you ever picked up like clients based on other bands, posting you? Like, have you, other bands, seen some of the photographs that you do and been like, we want Danielle to do our photos for our live shots?
Um, yeah, I'll get bands that'll be like, oh, any chance you could come out to our show and shoot us? But this is all this band stuff is all pro bono. Like I rarely get paid. So what I try to
Mm,
do is I try to at least sell some prints after. Usually I'll sell them to people in the crowd and whatnot. Like, they're singing along or whatever, and it's just cool for them to have, or people that are just fans of the bands. Um, like $30 to $40 here and there, and it helps offset my costs. So if any listeners want to buy any prints, you're more than welcome to shoot me a message. But
I saw on your
like when I
Flickr page. I saw on your Flickr
yeah,
page that there's an option to get like metal photos, and I'm definitely interested in one of those one of these days because
yeah.
like I said, you have some incredible work, and I've got a bunch of wall space that I need occupied, and what better way to have some good art with live photography on like a high quality print. So I'm definitely interested one of these days.
Yeah, so there is a company that actually prints on like kind of a thin aluminum type of thing, and then they put a
Mhm.
backing on it, and then there's actually metallic paper. So you can get like a regular photo on this metallic paper, and it has just like this really awesome sheen to it. And it's pretty cool. I actually really like it for wedding photos too. It just
Yeah,
gives an extra little pop and a little crispness to the photo.
sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so if you ever want one, shoot me what you would like,
I'm
and I can
I'm
hook it
definitely
up.
interested. Yeah. Now, as far as like bands or maybe even individuals that you would want to shoot in the future, do you have like a wish list?
Well, Refused was one of my top, like I hope they play again, and I hope I get an opportunity to shoot them, and it just happened this weekend. So I would say out of like hardcore bands that I love, I really was bummed that I had never shot Refused and Chain of Strength. So Refused is now knocked off my list. So I'm hoping for
Nice.
Chain of Strength soon. Every
They got to
time,
do
like,
another.
yes, they have to
uh,
do another reunion.
Yeah. I think they
Just for
did Red
one
Fest a few
show.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta do it. Do you ever do like individual photography? Like I had a buddy that went around and he just followed politicians around. I know that's probably doesn't sound very interesting, but like, celebrities or anybody that you would like to, photograph.
I don't really do like studio type of work. Like, I'm not like my friend JC Carey. He's awesome with lighting, and he works for Westcott Lighting. He used to work for Nikon, and that's kind of like, I feel like when you're doing stuff like that, you need to be a little more, um, you have to integrate lighting into it in one way or another. But I don't really do that, so it's not really my thing. I
Hmm.
do sometimes do portraits, like outside type of portraits, and again, it goes back to more of my hair clients. So I've done a lot of like family photos, graduation photos, um, engagement photos. I've done some kid shoots, baby shoots, some pet shoots. But they're more like outside and natural lighting. But I've never really followed like one band or one person or anything, because that becomes kind of an issue with taking time off of work. I really can't, you know, take like 6 weeks off from the salon to go on tour with a band or whatever it may be. Um, I mean, it would be cool. Maybe someday when I retire, if I'm not working till I'm like 80 and then I'm too old to be going to hardcore shows.
You're
Which I
never too
probably
old.
won't.
Never.
I don't know. I can't be
Uh,
walking around with a cane through the crowd at a hardcore show.
ah, yeah,
We'll
funnier things have happened, I
see.
suppose. But and I am a big like media and arts guy. It's funny, I'm actually shooting this on a Blackmagic 6K. Like I love that camera, and I didn't actually start integrating it till recently because technically this only streams at 1080p, the program that I use. But I was like, well, why even use my camera? And then I connected it, and I'm like, what a world of difference this camera makes. I should have been doing this way sooner. But I'm a big media arts guy. I love films. I love, music, obviously. And I also like reading. And so I always have to ask people like, you know, some of your favorite movies, books, music of the past, and then of the present. Like, what are you into?
What am I into presently as far as media goes? Like,
Films, television shows. I mean, because they are moving
yeah,
pictures.
yes. The most recent show that I kind of binge watched with my husband was Landman with Billy Bob Thornton. I don't know
Everyone
if you've
seems to
seen
like
it.
that one.
We
No, it's Taylor
loved it.
Sheridan, though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah,
very
it's
good
good.
show. And I watch a lot of true crime stuff, like the like Channel ID is like one of my favorite. I like to watch I don't know. I'm kind of a little oddball. I like to watch the Weather Channel, the Pet Channel, HGTV. Big into remodeling stuff around my house. If I could like redo my house every other year, I would.
Yeah.
It didn't cost too much money. But yeah, I like true crime stuff probably the most. And we're
Okay.
big into all the God, like Law and Order type of stuff, like and the
Oh,
Chicago
okay.
shows. Yeah, I watch SVU every week and the new Law and Order, the old Law and Order. Um, but like as far as like my favorite TV series, like maybe ever, I loved Breaking Bad, The Sopranos. I also love, I'm a big Seinfeld person and The Office. Those are my two favorite shows ever. Like
Nice.
everything in my life I relate to a Seinfeld episode.
That makes
But
sense. It's funny that you bring up true crime because I've dated a few girls in the past that love true crime, and I always called it murder porn. Because like they're so fascinated with it, and like they're like, no, it helps us to learn and it helps us to stay on our toes. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, but then they'll watch it at like 2 in the morning. I'm like, how can you do that? Like, I don't even watch shit that crazy that late at night.
yeah, I do that too sometimes. Because Law and Order is like on all night on Saturday nights, and I'll go to bed and it's just on the TV, and I'm just laying there. And then once you see the beginning of the episode, you have to see what happens, even if you've seen it like
Yeah.
10 years ago or 20 years ago. I don't always remember every little detail, so then I'm just get like stuck on it.
Had a girlfriend really get me into Criminal Intent, and I was like, I don't think
Oh
I'd
my
ever
God,
watched a
that's
Law and
one of
Order
my
series.
favorites.
I thought it was
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, I loved it. I think Vincent D'Onofrio may be one of my favorite actors ever. Like he just nails it in that show. Yeah, love it,
yeah.
love it. As far as like directors, like Stanley Kubrick was a photographer, before he got into directing. Are there any like film directors that inspire you as far as like their eye for a good picture?
Probably oh my God. Why can't I can't remember anything on all these medications that I'm on lately. I told you before I keep having like brain
Yeah.
fog. But
Well, I'll tell you what. Like some of the ones I
what
like are
is the
like Paul
guy?
Tom.
I was gonna say, what is the guy that did like the Kill Bills?
Oh, Tarantino.
Yeah, of course. Why
Yeah,
did I forget his name? Yeah, Quentin Tarantino has got
yeah,
to be like as far as the filmography, he's got to be my favorite. And just like the editing and the way the timeline goes in all his movies, it's just really awesome.
yeah. I
So
am a big fan of Tarantino. Paul Thomas Anderson, I think he makes really beautiful films. And you know, back to Kubrick, like I love Kubrick's use of symmetry. Like he's very like keen on that. He likes to have a shot perfectly aligned, you know, like no negative space or anything like that. Or if there is negative space, he uses it with intent, you know, like there's
Yeah.
a reason for it. Very bleak Tarkovsky. I love visual filmmaking. That's, I think, some of my favorite stuff. So I can appreciate when somebody has an eye for, you know, beautiful pictures. So yeah, Quentin Tarantino though, yeah, he's great. I don't know what the name of his director of photography is, but the man's on point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and always very like, again, like with the, I mean, his, I wouldn't fall under true crime, but you know, kind of crazy, like mind twisting, you know, mystery, and then with some, you know, comedy in it as well. It's just really
Mm-hmm.
clever.
Yeah, I love it. Uh, and you know, I always ask this question to people. I stole it from Sarah, the hardcore therapist. Sorry, it's a great question. I love it. You could steal one of mine if you want to. But what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
With anything in general,
Anything.
I would
Yeah.
have to say when I was young, I was making really good money at a very young age and I wasted a lot of it. So
Mm,
I would have to say to use your money wisely,
mm,
work hard, and save for your future.
mm.
That would be my advice. Yeah.
That is very good advice. You know, I keep getting people telling me that, and it's like, you know, I wish I'd started to save when I was in my 20s, but it's never too late. It's never too late to do anything, folks, and you're never too old to go to hardcore shows, you know? So don't ever let that, don't ever let age discourage you from doing anything, for sure. Um, Anybody you want to shout out, like individuals, or you know, you mentioned you're trying to do a Chain of Strength show, you know, if they ever do a reunion, or you know, any newer bands that you feel like deserve some recognition?
Um, yeah, I really think that Pain of Truth is blowing up, and if people haven't seen them live, they really should. And it's not just because they're a New York hardcore band, and I'm a New York hardcore chick at heart, but I just think that they're really nice guys. They put on a great show, and I really like their style and their music, and they're just more like true hardcore. Mind Force as well. I want to give a shout out to them because they're my, you know, the Hudson Valley local heroes here. And of course, the older Hudson Valley hardcore heroes, All Out War, good friends of mine, which I did pictures on several of their albums as well.
Did you
So
do
if the
For Those
older
Who Were
kids,
Crucified?
yep,
Oh, I
yeah,
love that album. I love it.
did. Yeah,
Claim Your
so
Innocence. You claim your. Song is awesome. So
so
good.
if the newer hardcore kids haven't listened to All Out War, they really should. If the older ones haven't listened to Pain of Truth and Mind Force, they really should. Um, you know, there's a lot of great. I can't think it. There's. I think people need to expand to music from other countries. This year there was a. I don't ask me for the names. You're gonna have to look at the list, but there was a lot of bands from Europe at FYA this year. A handful of them, and they were really good. And I was just like, wow. So I'm not really like, I kind of stick to the same stuff all the time. Like I still listen to my 90s hardcore like all the time.
That
But
too.
yeah, I can't help it. Like just,
It's so good.
you know, yeah, it just is like Madball demonstrating my style. Like how could you not? And Hatebreed Satisfaction, like Earth Crisis, Destroy the Machines, like
Oh yeah.
Snapcase, Looking Glass Self. Like how could you not? Even I listen to One King Down all the time too. Yeah, so I really think people should try to expand to some overseas hardcore as well. I can't name one band from without looking at
I'll
the
tell you,
list of
I
names,
think Born
but
from Pain is from Germany. They're Germany or Belgium, I can't remember. Rise and Fall from Belgium. These are not like newer
yeah,
bands so much, but been around for a while. I loved Angel Crew. I think they were from Belgium. The fucking sick band. They were so fucking good. Dutch band. They were really good.
did they
Yeah,
break
overseas
up?
hardcore is great. I
Yeah.
don't know if they broke up. They may have went into like a hiatus or something, but I haven't heard from anything from them in a while. But
Yeah.
yeah, killer
And
band,
like
killer
Speed
band.
being from Australia, like, and also, oh God, see, now I'm forgetting. Yeah,
Australia's
hold
got a
on.
great scene though, for real.
I would love to go to Australia. I would absolutely love it.
Bands, this is what you need to do. You need to get Danielle a ticket to Australia, and you need to bring her
Yeah.
there so she can do some awesome photographs for you. That's your call to action right there. Do it. Do it. And listen to All Out
Definitely.
War to all the young bucks. Get off the TikToks and listen to For Those Who Were Crucified.
Yes. Let me
Well,
show you, before we go, let me show you my, let me just grab my old archive right here and show you, this is how I used to work before the digital scene.
Storm says Reservoir Dogs is better than Pulp Fiction. Fight me. I will not, because I agree with you, Storm. I think it's a way more stripped down movie. It's far more interesting to me because it's a little bit more minimalistic, and it almost plays out like a stage play. You could easily put on
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs as a stage play for sure.
Oh, I love Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, it's got some of the best lines in cinematic history. Great performances. Love
Actually,
Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Michael Madsen.
When I was in California once on vacation, I went to that diner where that,
Oh, really?
or not the yeah, where the famous scene is, where they're all talking about the tip.
Did you tip? I was about to say.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I'm a hairdresser.
No, I don't believe in it. Tipping automatically, it's for the birds, man. Great
so
line.
let me show
Great
you
line.
some. When I was in college, and I used to just all day print after print after print. So I have file boxes full of them.
Storm says, you shoot me in a dream, you better wake up and apologize. I'll do my best Keitel impersonation. You shoot me up in a dream, you better wake up and apologize.
So like
weak.
here's
that was
my
off the cuff, but
here's my Earth Crisis folder, like all these like older prints from like 1995 and 96.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So one of these days I'm gonna scan. I mean, I do have a lot of them scanned, but
yeah,
some of them, a lot of these prints were just used in their re-release last year. The anniversary,
awesome.
the Firestorm anniversary release.
Kelly was saying that you got to do a book.
Oh boy, that's what it's. I've been told that, but Kelly's gonna help me.
Be like a good hardcore coffee table book,
Yeah, you know what? I wish I just had somebody that could help me put it together. Like I have the content and I can scan the photos and edit them and all that. And I actually am very well organized. So I do have most of the dates and the venues and yada yada, but I just would have no idea where to begin. And I don't know. I was going to say, I'm a little humbled by it too. Like I don't know. Would anybody really want to buy it? Like, I don't know. Is it worth all the effort?
Go through Revelation. I would buy it, because Revelation has like Rev books, you can go through them and, I love all that old, It's like history, you know, like you were out there, you were in the trenches, you were doing it. You know, you've got all this, all this history that's contained, within your pictures. You know, I think you could definitely make it happen. I'd love to see it.
All right, I'm gonna consider it. Maybe I'll sit down and make like a timeline and a list of bands.
Jordan Cooper, if you're listening, which I don't think you are, but maybe you should, make Danielle's photos into a book. Do it. It'll be great. Bestseller. It'll be the best selling photography book of all time. I swear. Be glorious. Well, you know, Danielle, I really appreciate you being here, and big shout out to the Sisterhood crew for being here. Y'all have been awesome, and y'all are like great at supporting each other, and yeah, I love the unity of women in hardcore. I think that that's so important, and I really appreciate all your contributions to the hardcore scene, because I think you're doing great work, and I know that you will continue to do great work. So I, you know, thank you again so much. This has been outstanding. I love it.
A little side note here. Me and Kelly actually grew up like 10 minutes from each other, and we went to the same high school.
She was telling me that. Yeah, she
Although
came on
I'm a
the show
little
and
older.
she told the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she told the story, and you know, she said she had a straight edge friend in you, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's
I
pretty
love
cool.
that. Well, again, I want to thank everybody for showing up, and thanks to you know, anybody that supported Danielle into the channel. And you can support me at Hell's Heart Merch Co. Go to Hell's Heart Co. thatbigcartel.com. Use the code 20 for 20% off of your entire order. Fine Bella Canvas Tri-Blend t-shirts. They feel super soft. I won't name the you know, fabrics that are used in it, because that's immaterial, but they're really nice. And they're movie themed, hardcore themed t-shirts. I think you'll love them. Use the code 20 for 20% off your entire order. And yeah, support Danielle on all her platforms. I'll be sure to post any of those in the comments. You know, go give her a follow on Instagram. Go buy one of the metal prints. I think that would be a nice addition to your office, to your household, your band practice space, whatever you got. I think that would be great. And like I said, like, comment, share, subscribe, click on that bell for notifications to stay dialed in for future shows. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, give us a follow and give us a rating. Give me a good rating though, because then that increases me in the algorithm. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, like, do it. No, I'm just kidding. But please do that. Please support, and give me a follow on Instagram too at the TNF Podcast. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Namaste, jobless, and be good. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Thank you.
Hell's Heart, lights